Hi Aries, this is Tisch Aitken, and this is your astrological report for the month of June 2022. If you could please like and subscribe to my channel, I would really appreciate it. We had such an intense month in the month of May, and now the eclipse energy is starting to wane, but whoa, it was very, very intense. And in the midst of the eclipses, Mercury, which is the planet of communication, retrograded in Gemini in your house of local community and information. So you probably got a lot of information about a lot of things during this eclipse season. Eclipses do bring things to light, and they make us see things in a way we never have before. But when you have Mercury giving more information, probably hearing from people from the past or really uncovering things of which you had no idea, it's a really big deal. And you add to that Jupiter, which is the luckiest planet, changed signs on the day that Mercury retrograded and entered your sign of Aries. And that brings a whole new beginning for you, a new 12-year cycle of optimism and growth and opportunity. Jupiter opens doors and it brings you hope. And that's a great thing. It's expanding through being fearless and courageous and passionate. It will transit in your sign of self and new beginnings, and it will be there until October 28th. It will re-enter the last degrees of Pisces in your house of dreams and spirituality, and it will return to your sign on December 20th, where it will transit until May 17th of 2023. So this brings a lot of growth and hope for you. Mars, which rules your sign, entered Aries on May 24th, and it will transit in your sign until July 5th. This brings a new 2-year chapter of getting things accomplished, making things happen. You are a cardinal sign. You're very driven, and you are the sign of new beginnings, getting things going and catalyzing things. And as we begin the month, there are 4 points transiting in Aries and 4 points transiting in Taurus. Aries is in your house of self and new beginnings. Taurus rules your house of income and creativity and what you value, how you can find new ways to earn income. And Mercury will station direct on June 3rd in Taurus in your house of money and what you value. And it's squaring Saturn, the planet of limitations and reality and karma. And Saturn stations retrograde on the following day on June 4th in your house of friends and groups. You may be reassessing your friendships. Maybe there's some conflict within your community or with certain friends, or maybe you're helping a friend that is going through a difficult time. We begin June, and Jupiter, the planet of optimism and opportunity, Mars, which is the ruler of your sign, and it will transit in your sign until July 17th, Chiron, the wounded healer, and Eris, the goddess of discord, which is Mars's sister. She fights for what she wants. They are all transiting in your house of self and new beginnings. So much opportunity for you as we begin the month of June and in the summer to move ahead. And there are also 4 points transiting in Taurus. Venus, the planet of love and money. Uranus, the planet of chaos and brilliance. The north node of karma, where you're meant to go towards. And Mercury, the planet of information, are all transiting in your house of value and possessions and ways to make money, reevaluating how you can be creative in a difficult economy right now. So we begin the month, and Mercury and Saturn are clashing in the sky. So there's a reality check for all of us, but we're not in the intensity of May. It's not near intense, and Mercury is about to move ahead. So on June 3rd, Mercury stations direct, at 4 o'clock a.m. Eastern Daylight Time at 26 degrees and 5 minutes of the fixed Earth sign of Taurus. And that sets off where the total lunar eclipse occurred on May 15th or May 16th, depending on where you live. That eclipse occurred at 25 degrees and 18 minutes of the fixed water sign of Scorpio in your house of death and regeneration, as well as debt and joint resources. Getting more information how you can heal and what you experienced and learned during this eclipse journey, because eclipses want to wake us up and shake us up, and that they did. They really shook us up in the month of May. And how can you move ahead and heal, processing all of what you've experienced. On the following day, on June 4th, Saturn, the planet of restrictions and reality and karma and responsibility, stations retrograde at 5:47 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time at 25 degrees and 15 minutes of the fixed air sign of Aquarius, also triggering this recent lunar eclipse and squaring Mercury. How can you release the blocks that are keeping you from propelling ahead and from healing and from achieving financial stability or just achieving peace and health? And on June 6th, there's some helpful aspects. The sun, with Saturn, I want to say you feel that energy 5 days before and 5 days after. So we feel it or have felt it since the end of May, and we'll feel it the very beginning of June. But then that starts to, then it's not as intense. But again, reality check as we begin the month. On June 6th, the sun forms a very helpful aspect to Chiron, the wounded healer, and Chiron's transiting in your sign, bringing levity in the healing. On June 10th, Mercury, the planet of communication, forms a very positive aspect to Pluto, the planet of power and transformation, at 5:21 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Excellent for doing research and feeling empowered in your thinking. On June 13th, Mercury, the planet of communication and information, enters the mutable air sign of Gemini at 11:27 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, where it will transit until July 7th. And Mercury loves being a Gemini. It rules the sign of Gemini, and it's transiting in your house of local community and networking. It's good for socializing and dating, good for taking workshops, good for promoting yourself, good for interviewing, and just good for feeling a little bit more positive too. On June 14th, there's a full moon that takes place at 7:52 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time at 23 degrees and 25 minutes of the mutable fire sign of Sagittarius. And this full moon takes place in your house of hope and higher learning and manifesting and optimism, hopefully bringing fruition to projects you've been working on and releasing negativity that's keeping you from manifesting. On June 16th, the sun forms a helpful aspect to Saturn, the planet of commitment, and that occurs at 3:13 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Good for you for networking and working with friends and community. The sun also clashes with Neptune, the planet of illusion and dreams, at 9:41 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. That could bring a fogginess, but it could be very creative and also getting rest. But I think that Saturn balances it, and I think there could be a creative energy accessible as well. On June 20th, Mercury forms a helpful aspect to Jupiter, which is transiting your sign, the luckiest planet. and that occurs at 3:44 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Excellent for you for networking and for feeling optimistic. On the following day, on June 21st, the summer solstice occurs in the northern hemisphere when the sun is at the maximum declination above the celestial equator. And in the southern hemisphere, it's when it's at the minimum declination at the lowest point, 23 degrees and 27 minutes above the equator in the northern hemisphere and below in the southern. And it begins the summer season in the northern hemisphere and the winter season in the southern. And the sun stops for approximately 3 days. And in Latin, sol means the sun and sistere, to stop. And you stop and you reflect on what the season has in store for you ahead. And I cast the chart for the solstice. And the solstice has, for Washington, D.C., has Gemini ascendant. Therefore, Mercury rules the chart in its domicile in Gemini. And there are a lot of planets in your sign, in Aries, and they fall in the house of groups and community. The moon is in Aries, conjunct Jupiter, the luckiest planet, bringing optimism through networking and groups. And there are a lot of planets in Taurus, or there are 4 points in Taurus, in your house of in the house of spirituality and dreams, tapping into community, tapping into spiritual love. Venus rules the sign of Taurus, and Venus will conjunct the north node of Karma, and Uranus, the great awakener, is also conjunct the north node of Karma. So a lot about community and spiritual love emphasized in this eclipse chart, and a lot about learning and connecting with others. And on the day of the solstice, the sun will be transiting in the cardinal water sign of Cancer until July 22nd in your house of home, family, and emotional foundation. How you get your needs met, bringing light to that area of your chart. And Venus, the planet of love, forms a beautiful angle to Pluto, the planet of power and transformation. And this occurs at 4:23 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. That's a very beautiful energy about healing pain and loss and love, and healing finances as well, and a lot through community and working together in the solstice chart. On June 22nd, Venus, the planet of love and beauty and money, changes signs and enters the sign of Gemini at 8:34 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, and it'll transit there until July 7th in your house of local community and networking and friends, and that's a good energy as well. And actually till July 17th, so that's helpful for you and for meeting people and networking and promoting yourself as well. On June 25th, Jupiter, which is the luckiest planet, aspects the north node of Karma. It forms what's known as a semi-square. That could be a challenging energy, but I think it's really storing up fated connections and opportunities and new ways to make money for you and find value. And on June 27th, Mars, which is the planet of action, forms a helpful aspect to Saturn, the planet of responsibility, at 6:29 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Good for getting things done and good for feeling like you can really, achieve a lot. On June 28th, a lot is happening. Neptune stations retrograde at 3:54 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time at 25 degrees and 27 minutes of the mutable water sign of Pisces. We feel an outer planet station 5 days before and 5 days after, and that's very different from the Saturn station that occurs in the beginning of the month. Saturn is reality. Neptune is anything but. It could cast a fog on all of us. It can uncover deception. It could dissolve certain things. There could be, things to do with water. There could be storms. There could be floods. But it could be very, very emotional energy, very psychic and intuitive energy. And on that day, the sun squares Jupiter in the sky. And then there is a new moon that takes place in the cardinal water sign of Cancer at 10:52 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. And that new moon occurs in your house of home and emotional security, getting your needs met. The new moon is always a time to set intentions and plant new seeds, especially with this because the moon rules the sign of Cancer. So really ensuring that you get your needs met. And then Venus forms a beautiful aspect to Jupiter at 11:52 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Those are the two benefics of the zodiac. Venus is love, Jupiter is vision and opportunity. And that brings a positive energy to this new moon. The Neptune station brings a fog, but Neptune is the higher octave of Venus, and it's very much centered on the unconscious mind. And in order to really manifest, it's to really believe it's possible, to suspend disbelief and really magnetize through your dreams and through meditation. Neptune energy really facilitates that. And do the law of abundance, write down what you want to manifest on this new moon, and I wish you a lot of luck. Thank you very much, Aries.